Thank you all for joining us for this very special video, not even a podcast, a chat with John Falbo. John, welcome to Parenting Aces, and thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm really, really excited about this.
So we have something kind of cool that we're kicking off today. Do you want to give our audience kind of the behind the scenes look at what's happening?
Sure, sure. You and I have known one another for multiple years now, and you've been kind enough to do a series of podcasts with me. And, I got to thinking, and I think you did too, there are so many parents that have been through what you have been through and been through shared experience of what my own father went through, raising me and going up through junior tennis and college tennis. And I was just thinking we should do a series for the parents and ultimately for their children about this junior and college tennis maze, because there's a lot of parents out there like you did, like my dad did, that spend a lot of money, get a lot of soft promises, and find much of it not delivered.
Right. And so we're launching a series of 8 episodes. They're going to be video interviews with you, John Falbo, and we are going to discuss the underground secrets for parents to dominate the junior and college tennis process. And sorry, I was looking at my notes, but and you call this Stop the Insanity.
Yeah. And ultimately, we've introduced a program called College Hunter. And we're only going to take on, we're in beta testing right now, and we're only going to take on 5 people. But it is insanity, because you know this from going through it yourself. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I would never do that. But you tell me, was it not insane in terms of the amount of tournaments you had to go to, the amount of money you had to spend, running around all over the place, never having a clear picture of what was going on, and then ultimately feeling like the process did some sort of harm to both you and your child, and you come away feeling pretty empty and pretty dissatisfied?
I mean, I won't say I feel like it did harm per se, but there certainly was a lot of stress around it, both financial stress, family stress, time management stress. And sure, I mean, it would have been nice to have somebody holding our hands through the process. So
yeah, and to me, if you're stressing and you're worried, it's not that complicated of a process. It's like the story of the carpenter where you call him and he comes in and he pounds one nail in like 5 minutes, and you say, "How much do I owe you?" And he says $1,000, and you say, "For what?" Like, you just took 5 minutes, and he said, "Yeah, but I knew where to hit the nail. I knew what the problem was. I knew how to fix the problem." And a lot of people are in my view, dragging parents and children through as hostages, almost in terms of not really filling them in on the whole process, not really filling them like, look, this is a very simple process. If you break it down methodically and you break it down with really precise information, and like looking back on it, if you did it over again, would you not have just a ton more insight into what you would do and what you wouldn't do?
oh, absolutely. That's why Parenting Aces is still going, because now I have the gift of hindsight to share with our community.
Yeah. And by the way, you'll find me, you know me well enough, I will do shameless plugs and I will do blatant bribes the entire way through. And if you guys do not have Lisa's site for the year, let me just say one thing. And you didn't ask me to do this. You've never asked me to do this. I received 0 compensation for this. Let's be transparent, because we're like that with everything.
Yep.
The value that she's giving in terms of not only her experience, but the experience of other people. Like, for me, $95 a year is laughable. Like, a lot of people pay more than that for one private lesson in a big city. And to me, you're putting your heart and soul into this thing. And I know we're cutting into time about talking about the other, but I need to say this. You guys, if you have the membership, it's one of the best values in tennis today. And if you don't have the membership, go out and get it, because it's $95 for the entire year, right, Lisa?
$95.50.
Not okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
95, 50 will go to the editor. You have helping you, or all the expenses. I mean, the amount that you spend traveling and gathering this information and organizing the appointments and editing the videos. And you go to the site, and I mean, it's chock full of information. So I'm gonna do that again before we get done.
Thank you.
I'm gonna shameless plug everything. And the other thing, the bribe I was talking about, any of you all that join Lisa's site, which I think is a no-brainer, like I said, I will send you our free book. It's a 150-page book. It's called Diaries of a Teenage Warrior, 10 Top Tools for Developing the Mindset of a Champion. I'll send you that for free. You get that for free because she's got one of the best values in tennis. And when you join her site, she'll let me know. We will send, it's in ebook form. It's been recognized by 3 presidents. It's a 150-page book. So I didn't make you like a little 2-page ebook. You know, it's a 150-page book, and I'll send it to you because just as a thank you, because I'm telling you, she's got one of the best values in tennis.
Thanks, John. Thanks for that. So
not just because she's interviewing me.
So shameless plugs aside, let's jump into the meat here. And we've got an 8-part video series that we're offering. And this first installment of the series is called Mindset Fit. Give us a little bit of background. Give us an introduction on what this is about and why we're doing it.
Well, to me, if we're communicating with all of the parents, you know, as you are, as my dad was, as I am, to me, the first and foremost idea that everybody has to wrap their head around is that of what mindset am I taking in? Like whether you're a player, a coach, a parent, what mindset am I taking into this process? And we've got to really flip the script, if you will, because the mindset is such, so many parents go in and they're looking for direction from college coaches or from junior coaches or from video services or from placement services. And that's all well and good, but at the end of the day, you're paying your fees and you're not getting the kind of, when you had mentioned hand holding, okay, it is a hand holding process. Sure. And a lot of times in these kinds of programs, you don't get, for instance, you don't get to have a phone call every week at a certain time to update your progress. You don't get, the parents must understand that the mindset is one of a business transaction. This is business at the end of the day, because I've never seen the kind of inflation that's taken place in college. It's unbelievable. You look back when I went to school in the late 80s. I mean, in Kansas, it cost like, if you were out of state, it cost like $8,000. Wow. If you were in state, it cost like $2,500 or $3,000. So, and when my dad's years, it cost like $50 to get a college education. I mean, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases now. When you include room, board, tuition, all of this stuff, this is a business choice. And a lot of parents, because it involves their children, and I have one child, you know, and I know things get sensitive and things get personal, and you want the best for your child, but this is a big time business decision in my view. And yes, it has personal components, but you're talking about tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And for a child to go to a college and be disappointed and be unhappy and feel like it's the wrong fit is just unnecessary. And it happens a lot. It happens a lot. I voluntarily helped the KU women's team here. And over 5 years, they've had to turn over almost 21 recruits because it wasn't the right fit. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of moving expenses. That's a lot of stress for the parents and the child and the coaches. And it just doesn't have to be that way. Now, they got their recruiting right over the last year or two as we've helped them. They won the Big 12 championship. They finished in the top 10 in the country. They had 3 number 1 players in Division I tennis, 1 doubles team and 1 singles girl. And the power of the recruiting and the power of the right fit, it's unbelievable. But a lot of parents, they go into it with such a personal attachment. And I know it's your child. I have a child. I've raised my son. You know that. But at the same time, I want to help everybody understand in this series, how do we get your mindset switched around so you can have a checklist like you would any business or like you run your family and say, hey, okay, here's my checklist. Let's get this right. And because it's really important.
Right. And when you talk about the right fit, there's so many components that go into that. And that's what this series will be addressing.
Yes, yes. And I'm so glad that we're giving away 2 of the videos, because I know, I mean, you wouldn't have your site if you weren't like completely committed to giving amazing value. You give the video, the number of videos, the quality of videos, like everything is unbelievable on your site. And it's personal and it's for real. People are honest. You ask honest questions, you get honest answers. And to me, we talked about this. I wanted to give some of the videos away because I want to give you guys really some food for thought. And I don't care if I get any business out of this. Our program is going to be successful. I care that you join Lisa's site. That's what I do care. But what I'm telling you is, if we can give these first 2 away and really help educate everybody, then I feel like a lot of people will move on to the other 6, because the 6 topics we're covering, or 8 topics in total, they're mandatory in terms of really understanding this landscape, because it's almost like a maze to a lot of people.
Sure. So let's get in a little deeper to this whole idea of mindset fit.
Yep. Yeah. When most parents go about this, they're looking for the guidance, like we said. And you tell me, when you got into it, did you ever imagine that it would be such a long, complex road?
No, absolutely not. Yeah, no idea.
And I think it's kind of like, when you're born and you come into the world, nobody gives you a manual. It's like, as far as the mindset goes, instead of being the defender, if you will, the one on defense all the time, what every parent has to understand is, when you prepare your site, like, one of the main things is you need content. And everybody online, you need content. That's primary. Well, colleges need players, and colleges need good fits. Coaches' jobs depend on it. And so they need solid individuals. They need children that will go to class. They need children that will practice hard. They need children that won't run afoul of the academic compliance and all of this. And I know there's a lot of good kids out there, and there's a lot of good parents out there. But they go about, from a mindset point of view, they're going about it without even knowing it, almost subconsciously. They're going about it in a very passive way, expecting that, hey, we should have proper guidance. We should have people that care about us. We should have like appropriate measures and checklists to go about this stuff. But I think you can vouch for this. And I know with my dad, I was in an extraordinary situation. There were a lot of colleges coming after me. I was in the best situation you could be in. After I won Kalamazoo with Andre, for those of you listening, Andre Agassi, and represented the country with Pete Sampras and Jim Courier on the Davis Cup team, people were flooding in wanting me to come there. That's the best kind of scenario where we didn't have to chase anybody. And even then, Lisa, the mindset was still a bit passive because of how you're raised. You're looking to, quote unquote, the experts to guide you. And what we figured out was we actually had a better sense of what I needed than they did. And I think there's this idea, kind of like sending your money off to a mutual fund, that, hey, they know what they're doing. They're going to get us a return. And a lot of times the abdication of the responsibility, like the responsibility doesn't stop with college. First of all, it's a lifetime responsibility. We know that personally.
You're talking about the parents' responsibility
toward
their child. Yes.
And I think a lot of parents subconsciously are thinking, hey, if I can just get them through the junior process, then the college process should take care of itself, because there should be adequate people running the show. and not really realizing that it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz. You know,
Right.
it's like there are these different, there's a lot of ways to get off the yellow brick road. You know, you can go into the opium fields and then go to sleep. You can get sidetracked by creatures and everything else. And if you want to use that analogy or that metaphor, the wicked witch of the whole thing is, there's always a haunting fear that you're gonna be in the wrong fit. And
Hmm.
how do I, like, who am I dependent on to assess who's going to take the time? Like, these colleges are, the coaches are recruiting like crazy. They've got busy schedules. You've got junior coaches times are dealing with hundreds of kids, certainly if not 50, 75 kids. They're trying to make a living. Who's going to take the responsibility? And it doesn't end. It doesn't end with the juniors. It's a game plan through the juniors and really through college, because there's still, you got to do checkups on college,
Absolutely.
because you don't know if something's happening where there's a lot of things that can happen on a daily or weekly basis with your child.
Yeah.
And it's not a one shot deal. And a lot of parents expect, I'm not saying they expect a silver bullet, but they expect more guidance. And a lot of it's simply not there. So I want to help the parents get into a mindset, say, hey, wait a minute. Where's the best location for my child? Let's think about location. Let's think about what latitudinally and longitudinally, where would they like to be? What kind of weather are they used to? Are they going to like the sunshine? Do they mind the harsh weather? Let's segment it there. What kind of personality traits does my son or daughter have? And what kind of personality traits do the coaches have? And how are we matching that up? What are we talking about financially? What are our financial options here? There's a number of areas you've got to consider. And if you're not in the right mindset where you're much more active rather than passive, then your creative mind is working. Then you're thinking, hey, okay, this is another phase. It's not over. I've done what I've done in junior tennis, but it's a whole nother phase. And then you amp up and you're like, hey, okay, now we got something to accomplish. And it can be really fun, I think, for both parent and child. But the mindset right now is, well, get them through juniors, college, kind of like with a young lady, a parent would say, well, okay, we get them through, junior high, college, or high school, college. If they marry, then they're on their own. Well, you never really marry in this situation because you're at college, but there's a tremendous amount of responsibility that needs to be there. And in order to take that responsibility, the mindset's got to be right.
Absolutely. Okay, so what else do we need to know about this mindset fit as we wind up this first episode of our series and move into part 2?
I think that's really the main thing. Like when we talk about a mindset, I would say if you interviewed 100 parents, 99 of them would not say, hey, this is like an athletic competition. This choice is like an athletic competition. You have to gear up. You have to prepare. You have to adapt as you go. You have to you have to deal with loss and failure, and you have to deal with disappointment. And it's not well, okay, let's find a college, then get it done, and that's it. It takes time. It takes resilience. You never know what you're going to get from the other side. You don't know coaching wise. You don't know the responses you're going to get, kind of like being on the court. You don't know. I just talked to the KU girls today about, look, what is your definition of success during every single point? And almost to a person, they said, well, if I win or lose the point. And I was like, wrong. Because you don't have control. You don't have control of the weather. You might not feel right. Your opponent might hit a winner. You don't know how they're going to play. You do not have control. And if your mentality is hinging on whether you win or lose each point, you're going to have so much anxiety, you're not going to be able to perform. So what about we focus on each of our game styles? What about if we focus on our positioning and where we need to be and our effort and all the things that we can control? And if I had one other thing to say, that would be it. Like, let's get in a mindset. I hope you and I can get a ton of parents in the mindset of saying, hey, what can we control? Where can we put our effort? How is our effort going to be best placed so that we're not dependent on the final result? Because that will ultimately take care of itself if we do the preparation and we do the work and we focus properly. And if we're in a passive kind of, well, everybody else will kind of take care of it because they're supposed to be doing their job, okay? And how do we define their job? If we take the responsibility, then we're going to be more creative, we're going to be more adaptive, and we're going to be like, hey, effort-wise, what do we need to be doing every single day to go into this next phase?
I love it. I love it. So the goal of our series is to help these families better prepare, better manage, better navigate through their final years of junior tennis into and through college recruiting. And that's what we're going to be providing through these 8 videos is your knowledge, your experience with a little bit of storytelling from me, I guess, along the way, so that parents can really take the bull by the proverbial horns and get things done for the benefit of their children.
Yes, and I think your experience in this, I mean, that's why we relate so well on this topic. You've gone through a lot, in your own situation, that's inspired you to do Parenting Aces, period. And I'm so happy. I feel like we can do a lot of people a lot of good.
Agreed. So all of you watching, thanks for tuning in to this first installment. We will have a second installment right behind it, and we hope that you'll tune into that as well and take advantage of John's knowledge and expertise and my personal experience to help navigate through all of this craziness that's junior and college tennis. Thanks, John.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Lisa. I'm looking forward to it.